going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new Adidas Predator 18.1 in the launch Skystalker pack colorway. This is one of two top-end models in the new Predator lineup. At the very top, you have the 18 Plus with its $300 retail price, of course bearing a laceless system. And then just below that, again, not a takedown, an alternate top-end model, you have this guy right here, the 18.1, which does have a lacing system and retails for significantly less at $225, $75 cheaper than the 18 Plus. It's very similar in a lot of ways, but it also has some pretty significant differences, all of which we'll talk about in today's video, including whether or not the 18.1 is actually the better buy, the better performer, or the better value in comparison to the 18 Plus. So if you want to learn all of that, including how they fit and feel on feet, stick around, watch the entire video, and if you're interested in a pair for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $225 retail price. Because it is of course a top-end model, it comes with a string bag, black mesh, Predator branding, and an Adidas logo on the front. Not too surprising. Normally I would save this till the end of the video, but I'm gonna start with it instead. I think the Predator 18.1 is way better than the laceless 18 Plus variation. The addition of a lacing system makes the world of difference in regards to the quality of the fit. The lockdown and responsiveness is without question way better on the 18.1 because you can actually lock everything down. The adjustability that you don't get with a laceless system is all there on the 18.1 because of the laces running down the middle. You lose out on a couple different things like the boost in the insole as well as on the bottom of the actual sole plate itself. But in my opinion, that makes for almost no noticeable impact in terms of underfoot cushioning and general feel in any way at all. The 18.1 is also lighter, which we'll take a look at in just a second. And there are some minor differences in regards to the construction of the upper, but none of them, again, make for any significant impact on the overall experience and quality of the shoe. Really, the fit and lockdown is what separates the 18.1 and the 18 Plus. So if that's what you're after, the best performing version of the two shoes, I definitely think the 18.1 is the way to go. Not to mention, it's also $75 less expensive. Starting off with the upper, I think a lot of people, including myself, expected the uppers to be virtually identical between these two shoes, but obviously with the 18.1 having a lacing system, to my surprise, that's not exactly the case, but they still do offer very similar experiences in terms of overall touch on the ball and just general feel. Now, what you'll find as the construction for this particular shoe is prime knit and control skin. Those are the two elements. You can see the control skin branding right here. That's what makes up this top layer covering the prime knit base and also allows for the texturing that you find on the surface. That, by the way, is just on the surface. It's not a 3D texturing system like you'd find on something like the Nike Magista Ober 2 with its Flyknit upper. If you feel the inside of this shoe, the entire lining, the entire underside of the upper is completely smooth. What is different though is the knitted base feels pretty much the same in the forefoot, but in the midfoot, it's not actually forge knit material like you'd find on the laceless variation. So what you end up with is a much thinner construction through the midfoot in general, without as much padding and general cushioning, which again, makes for a slightly different feel overall, but is it really that noticeable in the grand scheme of things when you're wearing the two shoes back to back? In my opinion, no, the difference is still very, very minimal. And the reason why they don't put the forge mesh is because you actually have a lacing system to hold everything together. So it just quite simply isn't necessary. The other difference that you'll find is on the surface. This features a slightly different polyurethane top layer that's a little bit more firm in terms of its texturing, whereas the 18 Plus has a much softer, slightly smoother material that definitely feels better to the touch against your fingers. But when you actually have the shoes on your feet, and especially on the ball, there really is no noticeable difference whatsoever. The shoe also has that ridge texturing, as you guys can see, throughout the entire shoe, which because of this firmer top layer, it does feel a little bit more rigid in terms of the structural integrity of these little ridges. But again, the difference and the impact that they make on the ball in regards to overall touch is pretty much zero. So if you're expecting this to feel like a rubberized Predator striking element, as we've seen on past iterations of the Predator, this really doesn't feel like that at all. Essentially what you're getting here, it's a knitted base that is on the thinner side with a slight amount of padding mainly caused by this little ridge texturing on the surface. And again, it's not too thick, it's not too thin, and overall the upper feels really, really nice. If we're comparing this to the previous generation of the Aces, be it the 17 Plus Pure Control or the Ace 17.1 Prime Knit, this is a much improved knitted upper for this style of shoe, and I actually really do like the way that it feels in general. Before we move on, let me answer the one question that I'm sure a lot of you guys will ask down below, and that is, can you buy the 18.1 variation of the shoe, remove the laces, and just wear it as a laceless boot like the 18 Plus, but obviously for a lot less money? And the simple answer to that question is you can do that if you really want to, but just know that you're gonna have absolutely zero lockdown. It does not work at all because, like I just explained, it's not the same construction for the upper. This does not have the forge knit material through the midfoot, which plays a huge role on the 18 Plus in terms of making the lockdown suitable for the fact that it doesn't actually have any laces. If you remove the laces on this particular shoe, which really hold the two sides of this prime knit upper together, keeping your foot locked in place, you just end up with no lockdown whatsoever. This is all elasticated, which again, looks like what you would find on the 18 Plus, but without the addition of all that extra structure from the midfoot material found on that particular shoe, the lockdown is brutal. Your heel slides around with very, very minimal effort. So if you were to try to run around and kick a ball, do any kind of intense movement in this shoe without the lacing system holding your foot in place, it would be a disaster, to the point where I would say that it's actually straight up dangerous to do it. So if you absolutely must have a laceless version of the new Predator, spend the extra money and buy the 18 Plus. But if you want the best outright performance overall, I would definitely recommend buying the 18.1 and using the lacing system as they were intended to be used. While on the topic of the lacing system, here it is. You can see it runs directly through the middle of the boot, uses a dual lace hole setup from top to bottom, and it works quite well. It's kind of attaching itself on the structured area of the upper where it still has some firmness to it. And then of course the center portion where a tongue would normally be is filled in with that same elasticated prime knit material as you would find on the 18 Plus, obviously giving it a very, very similar look. Wraps your foot really nicely. You have no overlapping materials because of this construction, and it looks really clean. One thing that I noticed about my particular pair of 18.1s, and you can see them side by side, the left shoe is pretty much perfect in terms of how these two bottom lace holes line up. But if you look at the right shoe, the bottom lace holes are not lined up perfectly. One's kind of a little bit higher than the other, which I thought was kind of interesting. I've never really seen that before. It's not a big deal. It's not going to be detrimental to the performance in any way at all, but something to look out for if you do plan on ordering these. Now, of course, this elasticated prime knit material does flow into the back area of the shoe where you have your sock fit collar that has a little bit of an interesting cut to it. I personally like the way that it looks. Like pretty much any collar on any soccer cleat out there right now, there is no support. There's really no structure to this. It's just thin elasticated material. It's there more so for the sake of looks more than anything. Lower at the front, higher at the back. I don't really like collars in general, but I don't mind the way this one looks, and it's not very tight. It doesn't feel restrictive. You don't really feel it at all when you're actually wearing the shoes. And for the most part, the shoe itself maintains the feel of a low cut in terms of getting used to the fit in the heel area. A lot of mid-cut shoes can offer discomfort in the heel region. You don't really get that with this particular shoe, and that's definitely more comfortable, noticeably more comfortable when compared to the 18 Plus version of the shoe. Again, because you have that lacing system that truly is locking your foot in place, so your heel's not sliding around at all. Moving on to the inside of the shoe, you're gonna find that it has the exact same liner as the 18 Plus. It's that smooth synthetic suede with a ton of padding. And again, because of the proper lockdown due to the lacing system, the comfort in the heel and the general lockdown is really, really solid. The insole is of course fully removable, and you'll immediately notice that unlike the 18 Plus, it is not made from Boost. Instead, it's a pretty standard insole, Predator 18.1 branding, synthetic suede liner, and a single layer of foam that happens to be orange in color, but it's just a regular foam. Now, again, a lot of people make a big deal out of the boost that you'd find on the 18 Plus. They made a big deal of it on the Pure Control as well. And honestly, I think that's something that's just really, really overhyped. The boost insole, while it sounds like a great idea, it really doesn't feel like anything special at all. If anything, I would actually argue that this insole provides more underfoot cushioning than what you'd find from the Boost one. You'll also find that on the inside of the 18.1, you don't have the Boost on the base of the outsole in the forefoot area. Again, a minor difference, but also one that I would argue makes no difference in terms of feel at all. So regular removable insole, it gets the job done, and that's really all you need. Moving on to the sole plate and stud pattern, you get the exact same control frame found on the Predator 18 Plus, but of course minus the boost on the underside in the forefoot. You can see it doesn't actually have the boost branding in this little window area. Anyways, the control frame is otherwise identical. So you get the built-in heel counter that's kind of half the size of what we saw on the previous generation Ace Sprint frame sole plate. And of course, the actual bottom of the sole plate itself is kind of following Adidas's typical design mentality when it comes to sole plates. So it does kind of mimic what you'd find on a lot of sprint frames. It's more structured through the midfoot and heel area. I would say this more so than any other of the sole plates on offer from the Adidas brand right now. So plenty of rigidity through that area. And then the forefoot, it's got a decent thickness to the material, which I don't mind at all. Again, it gives the shoe a very solid feel, but still has good flexibility to it. The shoe does not feel stiff in any way at all, which is always a concern and definitely an improvement over the Ace 17.1 if we're comparing this shoe to that particular shoe. As far as the stud pattern is concerned, it's the same general layout you'll find across the entire Adidas brand. The 6 in the forefoot area with the 1 support stud in the middle, and then 4 under the heel. You can see they have their own unique shape to the studs specific to the Predator line now, but again, the overall performance in terms of overall traction on both firm natural grass as well as artificial grass, because this is technically FGAG, is pretty much the same across the board no matter which line you go for from Adidas. Because the layout stays the same, the overall performance stays about the same as well. Nothing wrong with this stud pattern, nothing exceptional either. It gets the job done. If you've worn an Adidas shoe in basically the last 5, 6, 7 years, you have an idea of what this is all about. So in comparison to the Predator 18 Plus, it's less expensive, it offers better lockdown and better responsiveness. I think because of the adjustability, the fit is also better. Surely it can't be lighter too. Well, it is. In a size 9 US, these guys weigh in at 8.25 ounces. We'll say 8.3 to keep things really simple, which is 0.3 ounces lighter than the Predator 18 Plus, which weighs in at 8.6. Now, 0.3 ounces is not a significant amount of weight that you're gonna be able to notice either in hand or on feet, but it is something. I know you guys will ask about it, so if you were wondering what the weight difference was, technically the 18.1 is a little bit lighter. As far as the look is concerned, this is visually a lot different than any other Predator before it, but I have to say that I actually like the look. It's got that aggressive, modern, but at the same time slightly old school vibe because of the squared off ridges on the surface. I actually don't mind the look of this shoe at all. Even the cut of the collar, I think looks pretty cool. Because this is the 18.1, you get the laces, which obviously changes up the look slightly in comparison to the 18 Plus variation that obviously doesn't have the laces, but I don't think they make the shoe look better or worse really at all. It's really a matter of personal preference, and when it comes to performance, I just think the laces add so much to the shoe that it's worth having them there. You're gonna notice that the black is a slightly different color just because, like I said, that polyurethane top layer is a slightly different finish. This one allowing you to see the knitted aspect of the upper itself a little bit better. So to a certain extent, I actually think it looks quite good, and you do get the ridges kind of slightly more kind of popped out on this particular version versus the 18 Plus. You'll notice slight colorway differences between this one and the 18 Plus in the Skystalker pack colorway, where the stripes are solid white as opposed to reflective white. Little things like the control skin branding and this Adidas logo are different colors. You won't find those extra bronze streaks here at the back of the heel. It's just left completely black. And the other big difference is going to be these bronze elements in the actual control frame, which are just bronze plastic as opposed to having that metallic finish that is actually wearable, by the way, on that 18 Plus. So there's nothing really to wear here. It's just a slightly different shade of bronze, matte rather than shiny, which again, I don't think looks bad. This doesn't really look less expensive than the 18 Plus in my opinion. It still looks like a top-end model. And for me personally, I just like the overall look of the shoe, but I'd be curious to hear your opinions down below in the comments. All right, so as you can see, I swapped out the stock grayish black laces for some Orange Punch reflective SR4U replacement laces, which perfectly match the interior orange you find on the collar, but also when this stretches out, it reveals some orange as well, really making for a pretty cool effect and a nice color combination in general. If you're interested in a pair of SR4U replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen, as well as a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in a pair, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, I'm actually very, very impressed with the Predator 18.1. I like them a lot more than I was expecting to. I'll say right off the bat that I think this is Adidas's best ever knitted upper in terms of providing that sock-like sensation on feet. This doesn't have the stiffness that you get from the previous generation Ace line, which this basically replaces. The Ace 17.1 and especially the Pure Control had a very rigid kind of plasticky sensation to them. They were just too stiff and didn't feel what I would hope they would feel like. This feels like what I was hoping for. It's soft, it's comfortable, it moves nicely with your feet. The control frame underfoot has a nice solid sensation to it as well. And the lacing system, in comparison to the Predator 18 Plus, makes all the difference. You can like the look and the feel of a laceless boot, but there is no arguing whatsoever, I don't care what your opinion is, this offers significantly better lockdown, your midfoot's more secure, your heel isn't sliding at all. The responsiveness, the performance benefit of having the lacing system is so significant. There's really a big difference between this and the laceless variation, with of course the laced version because of the adjustability and lockdown that it provides, making this shoe so much better than the $300 option, if you ask me. As far as the overall width and shape of the shoe is concerned, it's not too far off from the previous generation Ace line, but a little bit wider, I would say, and definitely a lot more forgiving in terms of the midfoot area. It doesn't have that same stiff control skin material, so it's got a decent amount of width to it, to the point where I will say that these do fit most people. As long as you don't have super wide feet, I don't see too many people having issues with the width of this shoe. And as far as the sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So to sum up the Predator 18.1, I do think it's very good. If we're comparing this to the line that this replaces, the Ace line, specifically the 17 generation, this is better than the Pure Control, and this is far better than the Ace 17.1. And if you're comparing it to the current generation, the line that this is a part of, I definitely think it's better than the Predator 18 Plus as well, by a long shot, and it's cheaper. So it really is the best option if you're interested in a new Predator. So I think these are really good, but do I think this is an actual Predator? In my opinion, no, not really. It doesn't have any relation to any previous Predator models at all. I know a lot of people wanted something leather and they wanted those rubberized striking elements. I understand that a leather shoe in 2017 probably isn't the right direction for the Adidas brand, so I can live with the prime knit upper that they incorporated on this. I think this might be their best knitted upper so far, but I really would have liked to have seen some kind of rubberized striking element, even something very minor on the shoe, to give it something different other than just being a knitted upper with some minor texturing on the surface. We've seen that before. We've been seeing that from Nike for about 2 years now. So the fact that that's all they've given us here is a little bit of a letdown. But again, the overall package I think is good. It's got a solid feel on feet. It's comfortable. It does have that sock-like sensation. The responsiveness is decent. It's not super light. I'm not in love with the stud pattern, but as a whole, if you really want the new Predator and you like the look of the shoe, I definitely think it's a solid option. Anyways, guys, that is it for my review of the Adidas Predator 18.1. Again, if you're interested in a pair for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $225 retail price. Any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.